وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Respected brother Sharifuddin, other office bearers of the Indian Muslim Association, brother Taha, senior members of our community, Bharut Saab, Firoz Saab, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A few days earlier, I received a phone call from brother Sharifuddin with a request to conduct a health awareness talk. I was pleasantly surprised. Indian Muslim Association has made a name for itself over here by its various activities, which has been largely beneficial to the community at large and to the Muslim community in particular. But seldom do we find Islamic mainstream organizations organizing or conducting a health seminar or a health talk. This is a big irony because Islam emphasizes a lot on the health aspects. So I really at the outset should commend the Indian Muslim Association for having taken this initiative. When they broached the subject, I thought I should talk about a health issue which normally affects women at large. Again, I know the audience over here would be primarily Muslim women. And the status of women in Islam is not for me to state over here. What greater status does women have when our beloved Prophet ﷺ says that Jannah is at the feet of your mother. So with this, you really know the importance that Islam places on the status of women. So I thought, let me create a health awareness about a health issue largely affecting the women. Before I start my presentation, I would pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help me deliver this talk in a very simple and straightforward manner that is easily understandable. And for all you listeners, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help you all to understand this talk in the correct way and hopefully take back a couple of positive messages when you go back home. You see in the slide, you have the KNPC logo. I work for KNPC. And in our company, we have around 5,000 employees. And every quarterly, I deliver a lecture to the employees. So by and large, I'm used to talking to the common man. The purpose of this lecture is to create a health awareness. I'm not a specialist. Osteoporosis is actually handled by a team of doctors, and endocrinologist heads this team. But what I propose to do, and inshallah, I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it successful, is to create an awareness about this particular health issue. World Osteoporosis Day. The person who introduced told us that it was held on 20th of October. The very fact that world body is giving importance to this particular health issue, keeping a day, 20th October, dedicated to osteoporosis, goes to show you the importance of this health issue. 2 days back I was at the embassy and one of the ladies over there asked me, what are you going to talk about? Strong women, make stronger women. There are a lot of implications when you see that slogan. That's not a slogan written by me. It's a health promotion by the World Osteoporosis Organization. What basically it is trying to say is, if the woman is strong right at the beginning, then when she ages and she becomes an elderly woman, she will still remain to be a strong woman. So the emphasis is to create strong women right from early childhood, puberty, young adult, girls and women should take care that they become strong in the sense their bones should be strong. so that when they are become elderly, postmenopausal, 50s, 60s, 70s, they still remain strong bone-wise. So why is this such a big health issue? Why is it such a big health issue? It has been stated that any women over the age of 50 years, 1 out of every 2 women could suffer from osteoporosis. And for men, it's not solely limited to the women. For men, the ratio is 1:4 to 1:8. And what's the problem with this? It's a silent disease, just goes undetected. And then the usual presentation is a fracture. So there's a lot of problem. The numbers are very, very large, and that's why we are discussing this issue. This slide just shows you some statistics that have been derived from the United States of America. But believe me, the statistics over here too is somewhat the same. Vitamin D deficiency. It's an epidemic in Gulf. Osteoporosis risk is increasing. At a recently held conference, medical conference, this was what was stated by the Kuwaiti doctors. A good percentage, probably close to 75 to 80% of the population is vitamin D deficient. And many of them land up with osteoporosis, but they are not aware. Again, a statement made by the Assistant Under Secretary, Dr. Falah. 40% of Kuwaitis have osteoporosis. So these are some startling facts that has prompted me to talk about this health issue. Very simple means of preventing this. The head of the endocrine department, Dr. Nadia, she stated that just spending 10 minutes of your time daily, 10 minutes is all that is required. 10 minutes of daily sunlight exposure, sufficient sunlight exposure to the hands, face, back, will meet with the essential vitamin D requirements, daily requirement of vitamin D. So along with that, if you take foodstuffs which are rich in vitamin D, then you're safe as far as vitamin D deficiency is concerned. So there are certain myths, there are certain feelings that osteoporosis is seen only among elderly women and it will not affect me. The first is osteoporosis is not serious enough for me to worry about. No. Osteoporosis is a progressive disease. A small trauma, a small movement, a small bump can lead to fractures. It usually presents with chronic pain, and hip fractures can cause death. The second normal myth about osteoporosis is, apparently the person looks healthy. I am a healthy person. It's difficult for me to suffer from osteoporosis. I will not be affected by osteoporosis. Again, it's a myth. A person who apparently looks healthy may not necessarily be healthy. As I mentioned to you, it's a silent thief. You can't feel how strong your bones are. The third myth is, I'm too young to worry about osteoporosis now. That is why the slogan, strong women make stronger women. You have to start right from an early age. It's never too early to prevent osteoporosis. So if your calcium levels, your vitamin D levels are normal, your bones will be healthy. Osteoporosis can strike at any age. And then the fourth common myth is, it's too late for me to worry about osteoporosis. Khalas, now I have had osteoporosis, I can't do anything about it. No. With proper medication, one can prevent further loss of osteoporosis. Now I have been talking to you about osteoporosis. Maybe I have mentioned that word umpteen number of times. So what exactly is osteoporosis? What exactly do we mean by osteoporosis? Osteoporosis means low bone mass. The weight of the bone is low. In structure it is there. Second is disruption in the bone architecture. Architects are over here in front of me. The inside structure of the bone gets disrupted along with low weight of the bone. These two things will result in reduced bone strength and thereby an increased risk for fracture. So any condition which causes low bone weight and destruction of the architecture of the bone Such a condition will lead to reduced bone strength and easy fracture with very minimal trauma or minimal effort. The figure on the, there's no this thing, no pointer, no? No pointer. The figure on the left is So the figure on the left shows you a normal bone. You see, it is thick. Those black spaces that you see are air. Black spaces on the X-ray shows you air. And those white things are showing you the thickness of the bone. On the left hand, you have a normal bone. On the right hand, if you see, the architecture is disrupted. The bone has broken off. Bone density has reduced. It is covered by air spaces. Again, if you take a cross section of a bone, on the left hand side is a normal bone where you are seeing very few black air spaces. On the right hand side, see the bone has thinned and it's more of air spaces. This slide on the right shows you how the bone is normally growing. Bone is normally growing right from the age 0 till around 35 years of age. Bone is keeping on growing. Bone deposition is keeping on taking place. From 35 years of age up till 45, you have a slow loss. Then you have a rapid loss. See, after mid-30s, you begin to slowly lose bone mass. And then you have a rapid loss, that is during the menopause phase. And then you again have a slow loss. So bones can weaken early in life without a healthy diet. Brother Taha just told you about the importance of a nutritious diet and the right kinds of physical. If somebody is inactive and not taking a healthy diet, he or she may not end up with proper bone. So what factors determine bone strength? So bone strength, normally the density of the bone. As I mentioned to you, calcium, phosphate, vitamin D, all these are necessary for proper bone formation. Bone is keeping on being formed up till the age of 35. And then after 35 years, slowly, in normal cases, bone is being lost from the body at the rate of 0.5%. When this rate increases, then the person becomes osteoporotic. See, there are two types of cells that are present in the bone. There are large cells called the osteoclast. Large cells which are called the osteoclast. The function of that large cell is to eat up the bone. Osteoclast will eat up the bone. And then there are smaller cells called osteoblast. Osteoblast will form new bone. So you have osteoclast eating the bone and you have osteoblast forming new bone. But the net result is, if you go to see, net result is bone loss. This is what happens after the age of 35 years. When there are factors which hasten this up or exaggerates this, then you end up having osteoporosis. So osteoporosis may be because of the imbalance between bone resorption, that is eating up of bone, and bone formation. So if the eating up of bone process is more than the bone formation, then you will end up with osteoporosis. There are different types of osteoporosis, but mainly we will talk about type 1 osteoporosis. Type 1 osteoporosis is the post-menopausal osteoporosis. Some problem with the sound. Women, they have a natural factor which protects them from osteoporosis while they are in the menstrual phase of their life. Till they reach menopause, estrogen protects them. Once they reach menopause, that estrogen protective effect is gone. And because of that, one develops postmenopausal osteoporosis. That is compounded by the parathyroid hormone overstimulating the osteoclast. I told you osteoclast are those big cells which will eat up the bone. And then that leads to the loss of bone. The other is age associated. With age, as I told you, after the age of 35 years, slowly bone loss takes place. So if that takes place along with malabsorption or any mineral and vitamin deficiency, then it leads to osteoporosis. Secondary cause is immobilization due to surgery. Somebody has to be immobilized and be in bed for 6 months, 1 year, leads to osteoporosis. Endocrine disorders, diabetes, hyperthyroidism, Cushing's, these conditions can give rise to osteoporosis. Drug induced, somebody is on a long term treatment, medication with steroids and other medication, anticonvulsants, they can give rise to renal disorders, nephrotic syndrome, that can give rise to blood disorders, connective tissue disorders, nutritional disorders. So these are all conditions that could give rise to osteoporosis. So just treat those conditions and then the risk of osteoporosis decreases. There are certain risk factors. The single most important risk factor is gender. Being a female puts the person at a high risk of developing osteoporosis. Advanced age, as I mentioned to you, 35, after 35 years there is bone loss, but as the person age advances, bone loss takes place more and more. All these conditions, they will all are risk factors to develop osteoporosis. Started eating disorder, cigarette smoking, this is something that's within your control. Cigarette smoking, inactivity, sedentary life, again under the control of the person. My previous speaker just mentioned the importance of exercise. So this is what Islam is teaching and this is what even science is telling you. Again, if somebody is inactive, such a person, so daily walking for half an hour, 45 minutes is an activity which will help prevent osteoporosis. It's not the women who are affected by osteoporosis, men too can be affected by osteoporosis. It's highly underdiagnosed among men, it is unrecognized among men, it is underreported among men and inadequately researched among men. Whenever I ask some of my endocrine colleagues, endocrinologists, they tell us that the number of men reporting with osteoporosis is increasing day by day because of good awareness. Because of good awareness, they get themselves investigated and then come for the treatment. So what are the symptoms and signs of osteoporosis? I mentioned to you it's a silent disease. Normally, osteoporosis will present with a fracture. Somebody gets a fracture, then the doctor investigates and finds out that the person is osteoporotic. So it's a silent disease. But the most common symptom or sign of osteoporosis, loss of height. You would have seen most of our grandparents, suddenly they have become like babies. They become smaller as the age advances. So loss of height because of weakened spine is another sign. Cramps in the legs, bone pain, neck pain, these are all signs and symptoms of osteoporosis. Broken bones, rib pain, spinal deformities, fatigue, all these are some of the non-specific symptoms and signs of. Probably when you have these, don't think that you have osteoporosis. Probably you have. The doctor has to examine, question, take a proper history, a proper examination, make some investigation, then only reach at the conclusion. But all these symptoms and signs are suggestive that the person could be developing osteoporosis. Typical comment of people with osteoporosis. See what happens. Loss of height, hunched back. The most common symptom or sign of osteoporosis. This is what osteoporotic patients will say. I have lost 6 inches in height and none of my clothes are fitting me because of the hunchback. The slide on top shows you a normal bone. The slide below shows you that architecture of the bone is disrupted. And you see black spaces, that is more of air. A normal bone that is affected is the vertebra. So osteoporosis symptoms, most common is fracture of the spine. And the sad thing is, normally affects elderly people and they will only complain of a back pain, a band of pain. And then you attribute it to old age, muscle pain, bone pain, old age, and you neglect it. What is happening is, it's actually causing fracture of the spine. This slide shows you that 46% of all fractures, osteoporotic fracture is due to fracture of the spine, and 20% is due to fracture of the hip, which is very dangerous. You see a fracture in this slide, shows you a fracture. And stress fracture is something, just prolonged standing or a small fall or a small trip causing fracture. Here this slide shows you hip fracture. Again, hip fracture, 30% of patients with hip fracture, they need long-term nursing care. And hip fracture is one of the worst fractures that any person could suffer from. So how does one know whether he or she is suffering from osteoporosis? Some certain investigations that will help diagnose osteoporosis. This is the gold standard investigation to diagnose osteoporosis. That machine that you see is called a DEXA machine, dual energy X-ray absorptiometry. The dosage of radiation is very minimal. It's a painless procedure, and this is the only investigation which will help diagnose osteoporosis. Once you do a DEXA scan, you get to measure the bone mineral density. You get to measure the bone mineral density, and that is measured by two scores. One is the T score, the other is the Z score. So if a person has got a T score of minus 2.5 or more, then it's called osteoporosis. Anything between minus 1 and minus 2.5 suggests osteopenia. Z score is, this will tell you differentiate between a primary osteoporosis or a secondary osteoporosis. Whether the osteoporosis is due to any primary cause, any secondary cause, or due to unknown causes. This slide is, if you notice, this shows you the bone density, the strength of bone, and this is the weight. Normally what happens, this is the green. After age of 50, when the menopause takes place, there is bone loss. But if a girl, young does not take proper care, no proper nutrition, proper activity, then she or he starts the race early. See, the bone has not reached up to that bone density. Right away, it's weak. Screen for osteoporosis. This is the bone density definition. By ultrasound mechanism, the bone of the heel, the bone mineral density of the heel is assessed. A very important way of screening and finding out whether the person has got osteoporosis or not. Yeah, this is working, huh? I'll just take another 10 minutes or so. I know it's quite warm inside over here and not the best of time to be talking, but I just hope that the message is passed on to you, to everybody who's assembled over here. I just want to emphasize upon the importance of vitamin D. Vitamin D is so essential for good bone health. Vitamin D you get by exposing your skin to ultraviolet B rays. Ultraviolet B rays normally in the frequency of 290 to 300. That's the rays. And the best time is around noon time. The best time of exposure is around noon time. When the sun rays are not slanting, directly overhead. That's the best time. Slanting sun rays will filter out the ultraviolet B rays. Also, the person should not be using sunscreen. Sunscreen will again not help in absorbing ultraviolet B rays. Third thing is standing behind a glass. No, standing behind a window. Glass will filter out the ultraviolet B rays. So one has to be exposed directly to sunlight. As I mentioned before, 10 minutes is all that is needed. and a good exposure of the skin, face, hands, legs, back, whatever, without applying sunscreen or without having any glass or anything filtering it. So from the sun, from the skin we get vitamin D, also we get from the diet. And then this vitamin D is activated first in the liver and then finally activated in the kidney. The active form of vitamin D is 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol. That is finally from the kidney. It goes and acts over the various tissues. So vitamin D, it's a fat-soluble vitamin. It's also known as a pre-hormone. It is found in some food, but mainly from the sunlight. And its major biological function is to control the calcium and the phosphate biasing. And tissues like macrophages, prostate tissue also have vitamin D receptor. What are the goals of vitamin D treatment? Prevent disease of deficiency like rickets in children and osteomalacia in adults. The same thing in adults is called osteomalacia. Prevent complications of insufficiency and minimize risk of certain diseases. It's surprising to note that vitamin D is directly linked to cancer. Vitamin D is directly linked to cardiopulmonary disease, to diabetes and certain immune related. So low vitamin D levels puts risk to all these conditions. So according to textbooks or according to norms, the levels of vitamin D are more higher. But on practical, if you look at the population-based norms, anything between 10 to 55 nanograms per ml is normal. And rickets and osteomalacia is seen only when it falls below 10 nanograms per ml. Anybody tests his or her vitamin D, if it is less than 20 nanogram per ml, deficient, must take treatment. 20 to 30 nanograms per ml, insufficient. More than 30 nanograms, good enough for the government because otherwise they have to provide the treatment. And if it's very high, that also is a problem. So who should be tested for vitamin D? So, those who are suffering from malabsorption, those who are at high risk medication, as I mentioned to you, anti-epileptic, those who are on steroids, those who are on anticonvulsant drugs, all these individuals, they must get their blood tested for vitamin D levels. And those suffering from renal condition called nephrotic syndrome. Vitamin D and D can lead to osteopenia or osteoporosis, can lead to hip and vertebral fractures. Low vitamin D can cause fall, can lead to hypertension, cardiac disease, congestive cardiac failure. How many of you are aware that vitamin D deficiency can cause hypertension, can cause vitamin D? These are the three cancers which are very common in people who are vitamin D deficient. Colon cancer, prostate cancer and breast cancer. So it's just not the bone, it's other systems also which are affected by low vitamin D levels. Vitamin D is also known to cause diabetes, multiple sclerosis, autoimmune disease and schizophrenia. So when there is deficiency of vitamin D, one needs to treat deficiency. So when there is very low vitamin D levels, normally vitamin D can be given as an injection. It's a fat soluble injection given once a month. 6 lakh units, international units, is given once a month, probably for 4 months. Or the other alternative is to give 50,000 international units every week for 8 weeks. And the maintenance dose as mentioned over here. Now we go back to the treatment of osteoporosis. I just briefed you on vitamin D because vitamin D is so essential for good bone health. The goal of treatment is to prevent osteoporosis, either to decrease the bone resorption or to increase the bone formation. So either to decrease the bone resorption or to increase the bone formation. And that can be done by calcium, vitamin D, weight bearing exercise. On one side, calcium supplements, vitamin D and weight bearing. And on the other side, bone friendly medicines. there are two main types of drugs. I will not go into the details. I'll just mention to you that there are anti-resorptive drugs. That is, drugs which will reduce the resorption of bone. Drugs that will reduce the bone from being destructed by the osteoclast. The other one is the bone building drugs that will encourage the formation of bone, or which will help the osteoblast to lay the bone. So this is a list of the various drugs that are available. Again, bone formation and bone resorption. This is bone forming drugs. We'll emphasize on the next 5 slides telling you about the preventive steps. How can I prevent from developing osteoporosis? So there are simple 5 steps which are proposed by the National Osteoporosis Foundation. All of you are aware of this. This is a food pyramid. But what is so special about this food pyramid is, on the left hand side you will find there are steps. So along with food, there is the element of exercise. So just nutritious or a balanced diet is not enough. It has to be compounded with an exercise also. Now if you look at it, this is coded by different colors. Meat just forms, meat is the dark blue on the extreme right. So if you take a plate, only 20% of that plate should consist of meat. Remaining 80% or 70% should be vegetables, salad and grains. But what actually happens when we go for a buffet is 90% is meat and probably 10% is some grains and some salad or something like that. So an easy way to understand is, whatever plate you take, only 20% should be meat and fat, those sources. The remaining 70% should be vegetable, fruits, grains. Second is engaging in weight-bearing exercise. By weight-bearing exercise, don't think that carrying heavy weights or doing push-ups. No. Weight-bearing exercise is as simple as climbing the stairs. Climbing the stairs is a weight-bearing exercise. Aerobics, excellent weight-bearing exercise. So weight-bearing exercise is climbing stairs and aerobics. And these can strengthen the bones. Third thing, stop smoking. So anybody who's a smoker over here, another good reason to stop smoking. Smoking causes so many diseases, so many ailments. So there is one more good reason to stop smoking. The fourth step is to talk to your doctor, especially those people who are at a high risk. Take calcium supplement. These are some of the calcium fortified food stuff. Milk, yogurt, cheese, juices which are fortified with calcium. There are daily requirement, but see to it that your child, and even ladies, they drink. If you're worried about gaining weight, take low fat milk. So you reduce the calorie, reduce the fat, but you get the benefits of calcium, vitamin D, fortification, everything from that milk. So all ladies, men also, take a glass of milk or curds. So these are certain levels. Again, I wouldn't want to go into the details. 200 international units is what is the daily requirement, and 400 international unit has 1 AHS. These are some very good sources of vitamin D. Sunlight, as I just mentioned to you, and the others are the food stuff which are fortified with vitamin D. Again, salmon, mackerel, sardine, tuna, these are good. Cod liver, very high source of vitamin D. Very high source of vitamin D. Even mushrooms is very good source of vitamin D for vegetarians. There you see a hip guard. As I mentioned to you, hip fracture is something which is very common among osteoporotic people. Wearing this may prevent hip fracture, because once you develop a hip fracture, it's not one of the best fractures to have. Any fracture is bad, but hip fracture is really, really, really bad. Then have a bone density. Fifth step is have a bone density, especially people who are at high risk. And who should be having that? postmenopausal women over the age of 65, and those who are taking anti-epileptic drug, nephrotic syndrome patient, steroid who are on steroids, who have malabsorption. Such people should undergo this DEXA scan. So that's my last slide. Osteoporosis is preventable for most people. So start building bone at a healthy bones while young. A healthy diet and a positive lifestyle are important for both men and women. Thank you. What I understand is the sister over there is trying to ask me what are the best ways of getting vitamin D, especially with this global warming and other things happening and exposing to sunlight, and with the Islamic dress code, how does one go about exposing oneself to sunlight, or what are the alternate ways of some extremes of climate. Extremes of climate is another reason. See, one has to understand that vitamin D, the closer you are to the equator, the closer the countries to the equator, then those countries get good amounts of vitamin D. The countries which are further away from the equator, at the Arctic and other levels, sunlight, vitamin D doesn't come over there. That's why in Europe and other countries, in those countries and all, they have foodstuffs which are fortified with vitamin D. So if for any reason, if a person is not able to expose himself or herself to sunlight or not get the benefit of sunlight, then such a person should go in for foodstuff which is fortified with vitamin D. That's the only way. Now, why is vitamin D so prevalent in Kuwait? One of the reasons, as the sister Oya mentioned, is extreme climate. That's one very common reason why people don't expose themselves to sunlight. Second is our dress culture code, covered from head to foot by the abaya, again doesn't expose to sunlight. In spite of this, as I mentioned to you, the duration of exposure is only 10 minutes, and one doesn't need to go and continuously expose himself or herself for 10 minutes. I don't think by exposing yourself for 10 minutes you would develop severe sunburn or other problems. And as I mentioned to you, ultraviolet B rays, which are normally seen during the slanting rays, don't have ultraviolet. So early morning, late evening will not give you the ultraviolet B rays. So it's during the mid-noon time that you have to expose. And those rays are less harmful towards causing skin cancers. It's the ultraviolet A rays which are more of leading to skin cancer. So if one is able to expose to sunlight, he or she must do it. But there are countries, as I mentioned to you, not able to expose to sunlight. Their only resource is foodstuff which is fortified with vitamin D. I hope that question is clarified. Probably one or two more questions, 9:15. Vitamin D as a supplement should not be taken. Vitamin D deficient people should be taking these medications. If the vitamin D levels in the blood are high, it can have toxic features. There can be vitamin D toxicity. So first one has to check vitamin D levels before taking vitamin D supplements. These are normally given to people, as I mentioned, those who have got malabsorption, those who are taking corticosteroids for a long time, those who are nephrotic syndrome. Such people should definitely take. Others, if they have vitamin D deficiency, proved vitamin D deficiency, depending on what your vitamin D levels are, you will be given treatment, either in the form of high dose vitamin, which could be tablets or injections, or maintenance dose, depending on what vitamin D level is.
And giving the precious time and valuable information. I request Brother Sharfuddin to end this program with dua.
I think dua is not necessary. With this we will conclude. Thank you very much for everybody's efforts. Jazakumullahu khair al-jaza.
One more round.
Process that I mentioned to you is the bone becomes low in weight and the architecture of the bone is destroyed. So both of this puts the bone at a risk of developing fracture with minimal trauma. Osteoarthritis is something that affects the joints. It's not the bone, it's the joint. It's a connective tissue disorder. Good question. Again, if you look at the foodstuff which are very high or very rich in vitamin D and calcium, they are basically milk-based products. So diabetics, there's nothing that prevents diabetics from taking milk-based products. The only issue is obesity or gaining weight, gaining extra calories. So you can take all these cheese, milk, yogurt, either in the skimmed form or low-fat form. So you remove the fat content, you remove the calorie content, and you take all the benefit of calcium or fortified vitamin D that is available in these foodstuff. And I mentioned to you vitamin D, low level of vitamin D is one of the factors responsible for diabetes. So if your vitamin D levels are in the normal range, that also goes in controlling your diabetes.